And there we go.
Okay, awesome. Well, welcome everybody. So we have number 2 for our DE for today, and Monica is going to be walking us through the synchronous online teaching support. And so just as kind of a plug, don't forget October we have, so there were 2 today, we have another set next week. Of course, we're going to be off the week after that for Thanksgiving, but then we finished it out with another DE workshop in at the very tail end of in November as well. Sorry about that. So we have some October, but then we also have some November dates coming up. Got my days mixed up. But in any case, my name is Randy. I'm just the interim DE coordinator, taking over for Marie-Tez while she's on leave. So if you have any general questions, you can always ask me. But the folks that really know a whole lot more about the ins and outs and details are our instructional designers like Monica Landeros, and of course, Brandon Marshall as well, and Sarah, who's also our poker lead. But with that, I will take a step back and I'm going to appreciate what Monica is about to share with us, y'all.
All right. Thank you. Our fearless leader jumping in, rolling up sleeves, and getting things done. So I'm so happy that you're still here with us on a Friday. I mean, it can be tough, you know, we have things back to back and everything, but it's a good time to come in because we're at the midterm session. Pretty much what week 8, I believe we just wrapped up. And so for those of you who are teaching late start classes, those begin on Monday. Often this is when we're scrambling to put all that together and to think about how we want to assess our students, how we want to reach out to our students in particular when it's a very fast paced second half or this short-term course. And then many of us have synchronous meetings still. So unless those synchronous meetings were in the schedule of classes, this is just a heads up, we can't require that students come to any spontaneous synchronous meetings. So if we want students to be there, they have to be in the schedule of classes. Now, of course, we can have synchronous meetings that are like workshops or brainstorms or a reviewing of assignments. I have a final research paper in my assignment. It's about this point where students are starting to really get serious about, okay, what topic did I decide to pick? What are my sources? How do I put that all together? So it's a good time to just touch base with everyone on that. So I'm going to first check to see if there's anything in the, no, I don't think there is in the chat that was meant for me. Earlier, I gave Luana my Zoom meeting. You can go ahead and copy that and put it somewhere in your Post-it in case you ever want to meet with me. I have drop-ins at 7:30 on Saturday morning, and those are meant for my students, but they hardly ever show up. But just so you know, I normally have it open, even if I'm like still in bed and it's just open on my phone. So I'm always happy to be able to meet with you. All right, so let's share screen here. And you're all familiar with the DEPD course shell that we have. It has all of our trainings and it has an archive of past trainings. So never fear if you missed one of our workshops. We've been pretty good, Randy, about recording so far, knock on wood, right? I just said that and now some weird things are gonna happen. But you can always go back and see what we have. The best way to navigate at this point might be to just go directly to the modules. But we have our lovely reminder here on appointments, and then also a list of what is coming up. So if you missed something earlier, like say the Canvas accessibility. Now, Randy, I said this right now. I don't think that we recorded that, did we?
No, I did not.
Yeah. So,
yeah,
but
yeah.
I'm like, I just said it, and I'm like, I don't think we recorded that. But we do have other recordings, webinars, and content information on accessibility. So we have Beauty is Not a Beast, for example, and that's within the modules. So all you would need to do is scroll to the modules list and scroll down a little bit, and then you will find those workshops. So where's hers? That's outcomes. OER, CTC, accessibility checker, Pope Tech, and color, for example. So those are things that you can go ahead and review. And so they're still there. They're really great resources. All right. So we're going to touch on synchronous teaching support, mainly thinking about how we do this with the gradebook and SpeedGrader. Because when we have synchronous meetings, as I mentioned, you might have them already scheduled, which is great. That means they're in the schedule of classes, and students know whether they can make your synchronous meeting or not. They know that when it is that they're supposed to meet with you. And so that it always helps to be able to have placeholders for activities. So you may not have a page or an assignment built out for an activity you're having with your students synchronously, but you can always create, even after you've met, as long as you keep track of who participated, that you can create a placeholder for that activity, and it can take the place of an assignment. So that means that it's a placeholder where maybe at first it doesn't have instruction, but then you can go ahead and say what that was, what it represents. And then you can go ahead and add the student score there. So that really helps, in particular if you want to give, the folks extra credit for coming into a synchronous meeting that you had. Extra credits mean that those who participated get the added benefit of maybe a couple of points, right? Outside of the benefit of meeting with you, but that the students who couldn't make it are not penalized in any sort of way, right? It doesn't hurt them if they just couldn't make it. So what we have here are our objectives. So we try to configure our grade book based on the needs of your own course. Everyone has a different way of setting up their courses, points, percentages. Some of us use weighted groups, so I hope to be able to show that. We will take a look at some of the Canvas gradebook settings, also the attendance tool, in case you do have one of the, even if it's optional, there's a way to make sure you're not harming anybody by giving folks a couple of points for attending. Or sometimes it's a no point situation, but you want to keep track. One of my colleges asks that as I send in the grade book, they also want to see the attendance record. And so that was a mini nightmare for me to have to manage, right? So, but when I use the attendance tool, it's ultra quick. I just click, 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 and then it actually spits out a report that I can just send to the admissions and records people. And so it's so seamless. It saved me just mountains of time. Another thing that we're going to take a look at is sort of general assignment feedback and scores, and then freeing up time for individualized and specific feedback that we can give to students in a timely manner. So that this is ultra helpful if we have, it could be a hybrid course where we're meeting in the classroom, let's say on a Thursday, and we take a stack of writing brainstorms with us home. Well, we don't have to wait till we see them again Thursday night to give them the feedback, especially if they have to turn around and use the feedback to produce another set of essays or work. What we can do is, while we're grading during the weekend, date night, right, has become grading, that we can go ahead and use Canvas and this sort of assignment placeholder so that we can give them feedback right there. So even if they're going to get their paper feedbacks when we meet up physically again, that they can use that feedback over the weekend or before we meet up again. And so it's very helpful to be able to use that as a tool. We can also participate in discussions with each other. I, knock on wood, hope to have a little bit time to think about different ways that we can help, either by using synchronous activities, or being that you might already have synchronous time set up, how you can go ahead and better use that time, either by using Padlets or activities like that, or by setting up grade books with assignments that already tell students, heads up, this is what we're going to do at our next synchronous meeting. Come prepared to participate in a Padlet. Come prepared to participate in breakout rooms. So there's ways that we can try to make those meetings a lot more efficient. All right. And so here I try to provide these sort of overviews for you so that you can always come in later or before the meeting to just take a look at that, to see if what I'm going to cover is something that you really want to review again. I also try to provide these sort of just-in-time resources. These are how to use the Canvas gradebook, and they will take you to the Canvas guides. Here, for example, I have a quick tutorial. I think it's what, 23 minutes? I say it was quick and it's 23 minutes on the use of gradebook. And the reason I've done these and created them ahead of time and placed them is that sometimes in our live sessions, we can't get to all of the nuances of the gradebook. And I just want to make sure that you have these resources that you can go back to. And then some more just-in-time resources. These, when I say for students, this is student facing, meaning you can copy this link and put it in your own course if you want. I have a page that's called grading and feedback, and that's all I address on that page. And so within that, I give them a video and look, this is where you can find your feedback. This is where you can see all of the comments, because sometimes you're giving them loads of feedback that takes a lot of time. And then later on, you realize they're not really reading the feedback in large part because they don't even know where to find it. And so sometimes it helps to be able to give them these links on how to view the feedback. And then these are all faculty facing for us. So gradebook. I'll pause here and then just show you this gradebook. It is not for our campus, so I hope that's okay. I think that I do share this, the freeway travelers here, that we have multiple colleges that we all teach at. But I hope that this will be okay for me to show you this. So within the gradebook, there are a couple of things that you may notice. For example, that I have a notes column here. That is not the default. So the default, so let me see if I can even scribble on this so that you can see it here. So it's this column right here. That is not a default for our gradebook. When we first get our gradebook, we will get it with something that looks like, let me see if I've got to exit out of here. That looks like this. It looks like that, and it looks like this. So this is the default. What it means is that it's going to show, and I don't think I have unpublished, so yes, here. So here you'll notice that it has these unpublished assignments, and these again are placeholders, right? This class is fully online, and I have map quizzes. The map quizzes are just, 2D, I guess. They don't have any way to have a screen reader read the maps and the countries, and students for the most part don't have 3D printers, at home where they could feel where the map, the countries separate or not separate. So making a map quiz online accessible has been very challenging, and I haven't been able to make it with the image itself. So what I do is I create these alternative map quizzes. They remain unpublished until I get a student with a DSPS form who needs to have an alternative map quiz because they can't see the map. So they can't pick out Egypt, for example. And so in that case, then I go ahead and I open up the quiz, and then I assign it just to the one student, right? And that alternative map quiz is an essay. Really, I asked them to take a look at to review or research the Arab world, and then to share what they've discovered. So it's a pretty easy quiz, but it helps them not miss out on that. So this is an example of that. Now in the view, it's it could be a stylistic thing, but it's disturbing to me to see things unpublished. so it can help if you're first designing and you want to make sure that the things that you want to be published are published, and the things that are not, that need to be hidden, are hidden. I have another one here, this map quizzes. So what I do at the end of the semester, if students have participated in all 4 of the map quizzes, then I assign them 5 points for this. But by then I have to publish this, but it's already at the end. And the reason I do this is I want to give them these like hooray points for doing a really good job on their map quizzes, but I don't want them to bug me about this throughout the semester if they see it in the assignments grouping. or in the grades, they might see it listed and then they might not even know what that's about. And I'm going to click on that. I do have a description. So this is an example of how if you have something that's synchronous, that they're going to do either in a meeting and you're going to give them their points for that, or that they submit to you in some other way that doesn't go through Canvas, that this is a way to go ahead like this. Say I published this today. It means that the students can read this and can see how it is that they got points for this. But it also means that I don't have to answer questions about this throughout the semester every time a student happens upon it. So that's one way to have these placeholders. So going back to the gradebook, because it can be disturbing to have that unpublished, you can go into the view menu item and hide the unpublished assignments. That way you don't even see them here. All you can do is quickly scan to see how students are doing. Another thing that I added here is the notes column, and it's right here. The notes column is only teacher facing, but it really helps in case if somebody's fallen ill in your course, and that's happening a lot, right? Someone has a death in the family, you might want to make note of that. Also, if you have DSPS forms, then all of the DSPS forms just ask for time and a half on assignments. Some have other things in there, and so it's nice to make a special note. Another thing that I put in here is like if I have a student who would rather go by a shorter name or nickname, I will also put that in the notes so that every time I'm addressing that student, I am addressing them with the name that they like to be called, their nickname. All right, so what other thing do we have here? You can, with the gradebook, you can take an individual view of the gradebook, and that would mean just for one student, and you would see how that student is performing. Another thing that you can do is you can have actions. So you can import, which I would say do very cautiously because it's very easy to accidentally override things that you've already graded. So that would be a moment where I'd probably call like Instructure and the Canvas help people. If somehow you just graded a bunch of work that was paper that they turned in a paper-based form. So that just to be cautious with that, right? The exporting is a lot easier. So you can export a current view of the gradebook or the entire gradebook. And that really helps in case you would like to keep just a record of the scores. You might do it during midterms. Around midterms at Contra Costa College, we don't need to give them midterm grades. Phew. But some other places we do, and so it's nice to know what the midterm standing was and then later on what the final scores were. So that's a nice way also to export all of that. Some colleges do ask that we give them our grade sheet, and so rather than have like some other form that we're filling out, you can just export to Excel and then you can send them that document right away. All right, another thing that we have here, and you might notice, is that I have my totals right next to the student name. And that helps tremendously because then I can sort, or I can see who hasn't come in, especially the first week of class. I can say, okay, I have 3 assignments they have to do for sure, and who's still at zeros. So then it helps prompt me to go ahead and send a message to students who. So let's say that it is, and I've got some eager students here. This class doesn't begin till Monday. Let me just say that. And they're already submitting work that I'm grading. So yay. But let's say that, it's still not the official first day of class, but maybe I want to give my students after the welcome letter a heads up. I could go into this menu, and the way I access that is by hovering over on these 3 dots, the more options. And I can go into message students who, and it gives me a couple of options. So one of them is students who have not submitted an assignment, students who have not been graded. So we also fall ill, but we don't want students to be, checking and checking for their grade, or did I get feedback already? And when we're not feeling well, we can't I mean, we do anyway, but it's really hard to answer those messages. Oh, did you already grade my work? Did you already grade my work? So one quick way to do this is to just send a message to all the students who have yet to be graded, and then just be honest. I mean, we can be human to them, and then just vulnerable even, and just say, I'm sorry, my whole household has fallen ill. But you are on my radar. I'm taking my medication, and I will grade your work as quickly as possible. And so that's reassuring to some students who might have a little bit anxiety. Sometimes they think, oh, I haven't received a grade. Was there something wrong with my assignment? Right. And so they internalize that a lot, and it just helps to let them know, it's all right. It's me. It really is me. I'm kind of sick here. And then the other thing is to email students who scored more than or who scored less than. Here, if I want to go ahead and send a message to all of those who scored more than a 1. Let me see if it shows actually. Did I have anybody who scored more than a 1 on this assignment? No, because they haven't turned this one in yet. So I wouldn't have anyone yet for this, but another assignment I could probably find one. So maybe I will use the has not submitted yet. Here it will show you everyone who has not submitted an assignment. If you want to see the whole list. If you don't want to see the whole list, you don't have to, you can hide the recipients. So you just, they were 34. And then here I would say it says no submission for, but that's not very, growth minded. If you think about it, it's kind of negative to say you haven't submitted something. It sounds very harsh. So a lot of times I will say still open if it already had a due date, or I might say heads up, due tonight, and then I will go ahead and say something like a very warm and encouraging. Like, this is a real simple assignment. It takes about 15 minutes for you to think about topics that have come up that are interesting to you. And so then you tell them, please make sure to some instruction. Please make sure to upload in the assignment Dropbox. Now, if this is a synchronous class, and you already want them to brainstorm and submit in that, sometimes we have to remind students to do this because they're not used to always going into Canvas, looking for an assignment and uploading it. It could also mean that you haven't just placed this assignment in a module where it's easy for them to find. So giving them the heads up. Sometimes I also give them a link here to that assignment, and I'll just say, hey, jump in. This is where you can find more instruction on this, or this is where you can find the rubric. And so this, I think, really helps, and it can be a way to reach out to our students right away so that they know that they're on the right path with what they're doing. Let me see. I'm trying to see if I can even find where these folks submitted work that I can go ahead and say thank you. It's probably going to be the other thing you'll notice that the way they line up, and you can move them. So if I didn't want my chapter 1 to be here, I can move that over and rearrange it. But the way that they line up is based on how we created the assignment at the beginning. And so it kind of just sets them up in the order of creation. That's not always the order we want them in. So one of the things that you can also do is go into view and arrange your assignments by, module first to last, so that now it takes a look at the module and all of your assignments, and they will list those assignments like that. And so that is helpful because as you're going through, you can see, like, for example, I was looking for the head and shoulder shot. I was looking for these assignments where students have already jumped in. And I'm like, where is it? So if I arrange this by module first to last, then I can go ahead and at least navigate that way through this. So for example, here, I can just say something like message students who, and then these would have been students who have not been graded, who scored more than 1. Let me see, it shows me 9. So 9 students have already done that. And so what I can just do here is, thank you. And then just write something very quick. Thank you very much for participating in the interview survey. I look forward to working with you this semester. I'm very saccharine in my messaging. And so this is something very quick that I can send out to those 9 students to just say, yes, I see you. I see that you're there. I see that you're active. And so that really helps. Another thing that we can do is that, and I do this sometimes, is that I arrange, I use the filters sometimes to arrange by student group. If I put in student groups and they're working on synchronous assignments, and I want to know who was in there and who was doing work, then I can organize and filter by student groups. And then that way I can see which groups. Small group 1 on the top right-hand corner. I don't know if you saw where that popped up. Let me slow down here. So top right-hand corner, it will go ahead and show me all the groups, and I can go into the specific groups. So for small group 1, it will only show me the students who are in small group 1. So while I have students in breakout rooms, I can even go in there and then see who's participating actively. And then I can come in here and say, okay, these are the folks who are in that small group 1. It also helps when we're trying to manage the small groups, the breakout rooms in Zoom, because you can see in one screen right away who is in what group. And then you can quickly arrange them in those groups if that's what you want to do. And I have very simple groups. So doing this will show me that I've got this other group. I can arrange them, and then I can have here a placeholder. So maybe this interview survey was among that group. Maybe it wasn't something that I created already as a quiz, an ungraded survey or graded survey within Canvas. But because it's a synchronous interview that they're doing with each other, I can pop in, I can see that they're doing their interviews, and then quickly right here, just go ahead and give them their points for that participation, which means that it will save a lot of time. You don't have to go back and then try to figure out, oh, well, who was in group 1? Who was in small group 3? You already have them there, and you can give them those points that you want to give them right away. So that's sort of the grouping. What is the other thing? I do filter. I do sort, I guess I should say, arrange by student last name sometimes. Let me see if that's, yeah, so here module, let me see, filters. I think it was under something. I'm trying to think, maybe it's under action. I'm trying to think. Oh, here, so then names. So you can resort students by their name. Let me see, where are they? Which is somewhere here, which I can't find. I think that that's the default. The other thing is towards the end of the semester, sometimes I want to know how the points are looking. So I'll sort by points, and then that means that I can go in, and let me see if it let me do it. Let me see here, assignments by points. No, I know where it is. It's going to be here in the title and the total number right here. If you sort by, you can sort by low to high grade. And what that means is that I can quickly see who has not jumped into the course yet. We have census that we have to take care of. And sometimes we have these assignments that help us know who is actively within the course and who is not. So I might just jot down these names or screenshot them and then go into the people and then see who has not been participating. So for example, here, if I'm concerned that I have to submit a census for a short-term course and I don't have a lot of time, I can jump in here and see who has not entered the course at all by clicking on people. And so that affords just a lot of information, because then I can go in and then send them a message specifically to them, to this, and then address them by their first name and just say, hi, I don't know if you're aware, this is a short-term class and we begin on Monday. Welcome, you know, the course is already open for you. If you can, take a peek. Or If it's the first day of class already, because we don't want to bug them too much, I'm very intrusive. So that we can go ahead and say, good morning. I'm so eager to work with you. We've officially opened the class this morning. Please jump in, use the modules list, so that we can give them some sort of an indication. And so those are two places to check, right? So the first one would be what has been submitted, because that's an immediate flag. And then from there, then it would be here. Now, why both? Because, and I don't know if this has been corrected or even addressed, some students will use their Canvas app for student to submit some of those early assignments, like the discussion and the survey, which means that they may not appear here. So that Daniel, for example, probably submitted all 3 of the required assignments day 1, right? So if I just base myself on this list, I'm going to be harassing Daniel for no good reason, because if I go into grades, I will be able to see that he already submitted those 3 assignments. I know it's weird. I don't know if they've corrected that or not, but many times when they're using their Canvas app, it does not appear here. It somehow doesn't, I don't know, it doesn't register. So that's why I use the grades, the grade book. Okay. So I'm trying to think if there was any, let me just peek at the grade book again. This will help me also show you something. For the grades, I've noticed that students do try to just get to the assignments. And so what happens is that they click directly either on assignment tab or the grades tab. The assignment tab, for the most part, we know to hide that in our course navigation menu, so that students are going through our content and not just straight to the assignments, right? Now, what happens is that they go straight into the grades tab. What they see for the assignment is not the beautiful assignment that we've created for them with instruction and rubrics and all of that. What they see is pretty much a blank page. They only see the title way at the top in a blue hyperlink, which they don't always think to click on. So it has a title, library write-up. And then it's pretty much a blank space. And there's a view, feedback, and then there's a rubric. They don't think to click on those things. So I will get messages that say, be clear, I don't know what you want. They're not even kind. And so then I immediately know that if they don't know what to do for an assignment like that, it's that they have accessed it directly through the grades. Pardon me. So what I've been doing is I hide the grades tab for the first, depends on an 8-week course. I can't hide it for more than the first week. I really do, Friday need to open that up so they can start to look at the feedback. But they really don't have feedback that they can't see in the assignment section itself until about week 2. Because starting week 2, then they start to submit assignments that I actually scribble on to give them feedback. And so I hide the grade book, and I'm going to stop sharing just so I can see people. Anybody here not know how to hide the grade book, if that's what you want to do? No, everyone knows how to, that's already a given. Okay, great, excellent. And so then that helps. But then of course we need to remember to go ahead and show it again, right? To show that grade book. So that's the grades tab. The other last thing in terms of sort of the grades, SpeedGrader and everything, you'll notice that you don't see the more options dots here until you hover. So you kind of have to hover, and then you can click on that, and then you'll see all of the things that you have here that you can manipulate in terms of setting the default grade. You'll notice that all of my assignments already have scores of 0. Now, this is a preference. It's completely up to you. There's just a couple of, cautionary sort of heads up on this. Because Canvas comes with the null symbol of a hyphen, meaning right here, it will have a hyphen like that. With the and then it'll tell you you've entered and that's not valid because I already put in all my zeros, right? So the hyphen means that it's a null. It means that not turning in this assignment doesn't count against them. It doesn't count for them. So what happens is that because all of them are nulls, when they start to submit assignment and we start to give them their scores, they will have potentially 100% because they got A's on the first two assignments. So right here under total, it will say 100%. And so that's great. The only thing is that in my classes, my students are competitive with each other and with themselves. So if they see that now they have a 99%, I start to get a bunch of emails about why they missed 1 point. And so now instead of focusing all my time on the students who really need help, right? Now I'm kind of battling the A students because they're seeing their scores go up and down and up and down. And it reminds me a little bit of on the, terrorist reports we used to get, sort of the yellow, orange, and red alerts that we used to get after 9/11, that emotionally causes so much stress to see your score go up and down and up and down like that. So what I do is I create all of the assignments have a 0. The logic is nothing has been submitted. So there isn't any reason there would be 100% for nothing, for something that hasn't been submitted yet. And so for students, they steadily see their score increase. So instead of seeing all of the ups and downs in their score and their grade, they can see their score increase until they get to like almost the last week of class, where they see they've already met the 70% benchmark. They've met the 80% benchmark. Don't give up. You can still get that A, but you have to finish through. And so this again is a style. There isn't anything anywhere that says you must do it this way, or it's even a best practice. It just depends on your own class and your students and what kind of stress you feel that they're receiving. Are your A students stressed out over stuff? Maybe this is a way to ease them into that. And of course, a nice grades and feedback page that explains all scores are set to a default score of 0. As you submit work and it's graded, take the feedback, apply it to the next assignment, you will see your score steadily increase. And so that's just a heads up, and that's how you would do that. Now, let's say we'll go into the grades here. The gear on the top right-hand corner. This is for late policies. I've been reading tons of books on equitable grading and zero grading. Almost all of them say that taking off points for late work is counterproductive. I don't do it, but anybody who needs to do it, I would just say, here are some tools that can help you. You can go ahead and apply an automatic grade, late grade to assignments. If you use this in the gear for the grade book, make note that here it says grade for missing assignment submissions are 100%. It means that a student who received a 70 who submitted work, but missed a couple of points, will get far less of a percentage than someone who didn't submit anything at all. So Devin, go ahead. I see your hand up.
I have a question. I've been using this. I just take off 10%. And then I usually cancel the late grade if they talk to me at all.
Okay.
So I've been trying to use it to motivate students, because otherwise I would say that they need to communicate with me if things are late, and they never would, and then they'd all disappear. But I've been having trouble figuring out how to quickly get rid of the late penalties. It's very tedious to get rid of the late penalty once you have it set up. Do you have any tips on that?
So one of the ways to do that is to have, now Canvas, first of all, students don't like this, but Canvas does this automatically. Anything that's past the due date gets stamped with late, and normally it's in red. So they hate that. But like for me, my late grace policy is they have a 24-hour late grace period, where they can still submit stuff, but then I still give them some extensions. I never take off points for anything. So if you're going to do something like that, probably, let me see, you can do it through here. I think within the grade, the speed grader itself, you can go in there and there's a little scroll where you can change that so that it doesn't count as a late assignment. So I'm guessing right now that you have a due date and then you have an until date. The until date is the close date, right? So anything that's submitted between the due date and the until date is considered late by Canvas. But it doesn't mean that you need to take off the points, right? And so that's one way to do that. The other is if you're going to use this sort of system, and some folks will do this. They're like, you know what? A 50% is still a failing score. I'm just going to give them 50% for not passing that assignment. So I don't do that because 50% is 50%. So I'm too old school. So I think I might have to read a couple more books to help motivate me to think about that sort of 50%. And the other thing is also that if you have here this automatically apply, that this then gets applied to everything blanket, to all students, all assignments. So it doesn't like curate individually, which is what I think that maybe you need more specific manipulation. Because in here, of course, then it says, okay, take off 1 point per day, per hour. I think that's really draconian. But then here also it says, don't take off any more than 50% of whatever the assignment was, right? And so that will work. We're going to go into the SpeedGrader, and I think I might be able to show that bit there. So let me go ahead and unclick here, unclick there. And so let me see, and cancel. So now that it saw me trying to do this, it doesn't want to let me get out. So heads up on that one. The other thing is there's a grade posting policy. Here I have them automatically post all grades. Every blue moon, I will have either siblings or friends in my same section. And I realize that for bigger assignments that I'm grading someone and giving feedback to someone, and then their friend is not getting their grade till like a week later. That's sad. That's a sad reflection on my behalf. But what happens is that the friend then has the anxiety of not having their work done. So when I start to notice that I have a lot of, these sort of couplings in my sections, then what I decide to do is just manually post the grades so that, or to hide the grade submission for a specific assignment so that I don't have anyone panicky, and so that all grades go out at the same time and not as I'm grading. So that's what this little doodad is for. So let's jump in then into our SpeedGrader. So let me see. And it's not going to be too helpful here because I don't have a whole lot of stuff. Let me see, 1-page description. Places I go home. Well, maybe we can do this. I want to show you something with some sort of, yeah, let me see. Oh, this one might help. I think this one has a rubric. So let's jump into SpeedGrader. And so for example, here, there are a couple of gears. One of them is here. So this it's submitted on October 13th, let's say. Here you can go ahead and click on that little pencil, and this is where you can put in the excused. So if you don't want this particular assignment to be considered a late assignment because of the submission, that you can tag Noah's grade only within this assignment only as an excused assignment. And so I don't know, Devin, if that sort of addresses one of the issues that you're having with having to go back and remove something. We should remove a late penalty.
Yeah, that's like what that kind of is the issue, because that's so tedious to do that for every single one.
And so this is new. Let me see, this edit pencil, I think, is not even a year old. Or, I don't even think I recognized it as being there. But
yeah, it used to be you had to do it in the grade book, and you still can't do it on the grading app. Like you can't do it on the teacher app yet, but there have been multiple requests to get them to make it so you can take away the late point
on the
penalty
grading app.
or mark it as not late.
So that means that for now, we would jump into the SpeedGrader, and then we would click on this little pencil here, the edit pencil. And this is where we would remove that. And the way to remove the late is by making it excused. An excuse.
Or no, making it none, because excused means
none. Yes, a none.
Then the whole
sentence excused. So for the missing, I really am not sure why we would use missing, because that seems to be the default already. Or let me see. Let me scroll to one. Like this one's missing. So this one, see, it says none. And so then I guess we would manually say missing, but I'm not really sure, you know, what the pedagogy is behind that, because it's clearly a missed assignment. So that's one of the gears. Then on the bottom here, we have a rubric, which I highly recommend, even if it's a simple assignment. Like this one, uploaded a head and shoulder shot. So I don't even have a long description, because this is supposed to be sort of obvious, but here in the partial, I do say posted a photo, but not head and shoulder shot. Or sometimes I say someone else was in your photo. Like they'll send the photo and there are two people there. How am I supposed to know who was who? they both look the same to me. So, but it helps to have that sort of rubric. Then we have the comments, the add comments section. And there are a couple of different ways we can do that. One of the ways is by adding, if like sometimes I do grade stuff and I show them how it should look because the formatting is not right. Or sometimes I will add, for example, choose file, and I will give them the MLA template I want them to follow. So I will attach that. Oftentimes I record either voice or a video, just so that they can see you. Even when we sandwich comments and feedback, they sound harsh, even if we're trying to be nice. But when they can hear us, then they can see, they can hear the tone, they can see our body language and see that we're encouraging, that we're warm, and that we're very pleased with the work they've been able to do, right? And that there are opportunities for growth. Another thing that I use, and I use mostly this one when I'm waiting in line or waiting for folks. That's my waiting one, is the speech recognition, because then I can click on that, record, and it will record what I say. And then I can just go in here and then tidy that up, right? Tidy up whatever it is. But sometimes it's nice, especially if we have a lot of feedback, to be able to have it. I have fat fingers. There's no way I can do this on my phone. Right? I just can't. I'm not that well versed with my texting. So that's another tool that really helps here. And then a final tool, there are times that we have just either loads of comments that happen to be the same, you know, so we're always telling them the same thing, most of our students, because a lot of times the same element is missing, or that there's the same feedback that we can give them. So I sometimes use this to give them a quick thing, like for example here, let me see. So my head and shoulders. I also have another one where for no submission, like this is one if I got a submission. And then I will add something like, wow, Yosemite, I was there last winter and there was a forest fire or some personal thing, so that I like to personalize the comments. Often they're the same things. I'm just thanking them, and, you know, so the language is the same, or I'm telling them this, you know, this assignment helps you learn how to upload a file. This is the way you will upload assignments. So in a synchronous meeting, in a synchronous environment in particular, it does help to be able to tell them, okay, you didn't have to upload an assignment here, but this was work we did in our meeting. And I'm trying to give you points and feedback here. So then, for example, here, this is a student who has yet to do this. So if I scroll down, I have a comment that, if I can find it. Okay, so I have a good morning, your head and shoulders time. Use the modules list and da-da-da-da. And then here, please upload da-da-da. It serves multiple functions. This is something that I tell everyone who's missing this assignment on the first day of class. And so it's just too much for me to type out. And quite honestly, I get bored with myself. So I try to spiff up my little do this, do that. And then I always mess it up. I like either type something wrong or skip a step or something. So sometimes it helps me to just have, you know, kind of the sequence of what I want to tell them here. And always, you know, your participation is truly appreciated, you know, things like that, so that they know. Now, one of the tips here is to put the title of the assignment somewhere at the top of that library, because 29, once they get a lot, it is really tough to remember which one is what. So for example, I don't even know if I have this enabled here, but let me say for CA3, did it do it? Yes. So all I had to do was type in keywords, And then it will go ahead and give me, oh, is this what you're trying to, is this the feedback you're trying to give? So that I don't even have to go into the library anymore. So any questions on the library, the comment library, or how we can use that? You probably will come up with far better, ways to use the comment library. It saved me loads of time because then I
Monica?
can, yes, go ahead.
I'm sorry to interrupt. This is Romus.
Yeah.
That's a great tool. Had some questions about it.
Mhm.
Does it migrate to the next semester? So when I export my shell, my course shell,
Mhm.
for the following semester, will I see those comments?
Yes, and guess what?
Awesome. Okay,
It's
that's
really awesome.
good news.
Yes.
Okay. And then could you just demonstrate it one more time? I don't see that comment library when I am using comments. Is there something that you turned on?
No, I didn't turn anything on. Let me get rid of this.
Oh,
So
okay.
what you might see if you go in, and like me, you see, I even have an extra pair of glasses on here, is it's a little speech bubble right here
Okay.
in this little square bubble. And so I
Okay.
didn't activate anything at all. And
Okay, great.
one of the beautiful things about the comment library is that not only does it copy from one course to another, but if you have multiple sections within the same course, you will be able to see that.
Awesome. That is great. Thank you.
Yes, just in case. And so again, if you title it something that is, normally I title it the title of the assignment so I can find it quickly. And then I just delete that if it sounds weird. Yes, Devin, do you have your hand up? I'm trying. Yes. Okay.
Yeah, can you show it again? And I've tried to use this, but it doesn't seem to work with my voice activated software. Can you see if there's a name for that button? Because I
For
can't,
this one, the
comment library button.
okay, the comment library, let me hover over and see what they call it. It doesn't have anything.
Yeah, so I can't use it with voice activated software unless it has a name. It's like not accessible.
It's
That's
not
an
accessible
accessibility
with
error to report to
name.
Canvas.
Ah, that's interesting. I mean, once I click on it, it does call it the manage comment library.
So maybe if I say click
Comment
manage comment library, maybe that will.
Yes. And so for example, here I have all of these that I'm using, right? And I have toggled this show suggestions when typing because I like it to pop in quickly. If I scroll a little further down, it will let me add comment to a library. So here I can say something like end of semester is the title for when I want to find that comment really quickly. And then something like we've reached something really positive, and then we click on the add to library here.
Okay.
And then
And
once
then when you're adding a comment from the library, do you have to click, hover over and click it?
you don't. So like, for example, that one that I just created was end of semester. So what I'm going to do is type in the keywords and let's see, will that do it? I'm not sure there. So then what it'll say is like, okay, end. You have all of these 4 comments, not 30, that have end. Well, because I put end of semester right at the top, I can quickly identify it and then just go ahead and select that one.
Yeah, I
And
don't
then
know if that's gonna work with the voice. Again, it's like if I want to click on something, I need to tell the computer what to click on. So
so you
I don't
could
know
use
if
the
it will work.
keywords, maybe click on end of semester. It does mean sort of remembering, like remembering what we titled our comments, so, but you can probably, if you're telling your computer, you can say, find end of semester, and then it will find that one that says end of semester. So that might be a way to do that. Let's see, what else is in the SpeedGrader? Let's see. Well, you already know the fast keys. So if you want to move from one person to the next, you can be just somewhere within the area and then click the J key, and the J key will move you down the alphabet, and the K key moves you to the top of the alphabet. But then say that you don't want to have all of your course listed by student last name alphabetized. You can go ahead and use these gears on the left-hand corner The far most key icon is the grade book, and that helps to be able to toggle back to the grades, especially if we have extra credits, because we might have accidentally put an extra credit where it's like hyperinflating their grades, and that's not really what we meant to do. So sometimes it's nice to test that out first. Then we have a hide, this eye right here. If we want this, I mentioned that sometimes if I have students together, that they sometimes, you know, tell each other, hey, I was already graded, were you? Well, you might want to hide this particular assignment, hide the grade. And so then that way students will not see this grade, and I'll click hide until I release them all. So this is where you can do that if you want to do that with this hide. The gear gives you options. So for example, if you want to sort by the date of submission, say you want to be really equitable and fair and grade the work that was first submitted, right? And you don't want to just be there like, you know, catching the assignments as they're graded. You can submit by the date. So then that way you're grading always by who turned in their things first. You can also hide the student name in the SpeedGrader. If you're starting to question your own human bias, which we all have a bit of, then maybe you want to grade their work and hide their name so you don't know who you're grading, right? And my assignments that wouldn't work too well because I have to put their name on the assignment itself, but that could be a way to do it as well. And then you can save your settings, or you can by submission status, meaning who needs graded. So this way, you know, when you're going in bits and pieces, it will only bring up to the top those that are the next to grade. And we've reached our 3 o'clock time. I'm going to just show you again, because all of these I do break down. I break down all of these, like how to use the SpeedGrader and how to use the attendance tool. So I have all of these, how to export files. These are mini tutorials that I put in here so that you can go ahead and take a look at that if you're interested, especially in the attendance tool, which I think that can be very, very useful. And then what we do is that we create and give you the recording, this recording, but I have been leaving previous recordings, previous semester recordings, in part because some things do change or update a little bit, and some things I just didn't get to within this meeting itself. So I'd say that I'm happy to stick around, but I have like back-to-back meetings today. But please definitely drop me a
Thank you,
line.
Monica.
You're very welcome, and then we can.
You're
meet
always
up.
great, by the way.
Oh, well, thanks.
Always awesome, live and online.
Thank you very much. And so I'm happy to meet with you one-on-one, and we can brainstorm some stuff out.